Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice, and it's by user Throwaway Story Day. I, 25 female, broke promises to my boyfriend, 25 male, while he was away dealing with his parents' health issues and feel awful. Like the title says, I, 25 female, betrayed my boyfriend, 25 male, while he was away taking care of his sick parents. I feel horrible and don't know how to fix things. My boyfriend and I have been together for 3 years, living together for 2 years since we moved to a new city together for work. About 6 months ago, my boyfriend decided he wanted to work on his personal discipline and decided to take some pretty drastic measures, namely, starting a no-fap, going on the keto diet to lose weight, he was about 60 pounds overweight, and giving up video games. Now, personally, I didn't think these things were necessary, except maybe losing weight for health reasons. I am extremely attracted to him anyway, but want him to be healthy and feel good about himself, but wanted to be supportive. He also asked that I join him on these things for moral support and to avoid temptations. Now, personally, I think no-fap is pretty silly, but we had a robust sex life together, so it wasn't a great sacrifice for me to forego solo activity. Also, I'm not at all overweight, but agreed to follow the diet so that we wouldn't have tempting foods in the house. I like to play video games, maybe on the computer for a couple of hours, a couple of times a week, plus a few minutes here and there on my phone. But again, didn't want him to be tempted and figured I could stand to transfer the time to reading and other hobbies. All went well for a few months. He lost about 30 pounds, replaced gaming with working out, and while I'm not sure what no-fap accomplished, I guess it gave him a sense of personal discipline. Our already very good sex life did improve even more, probably because he was more fit and confident in his body. Around mid-November, both of his parents, who live in another city 1,000 miles away, got sick with COVID. His father ended up needing to be hospitalized. His mom was not quite that sick, but still needed a lot of help and care. His job can be done remotely now, so we agreed that he would go out to stay with them as long as needed, and we would be long distance for a while. Thankfully, they both recovered, but it took a long time for them to be well enough to look after themselves. My boyfriend ended up being away for a little over 2 months, which I completely understood, but it did mean that I was on my own for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. I don't have any family in our current city and wasn't able to take enough time off work to go out of town. Honestly, I didn't stick to the provisions above while he was away. I had agreed to do no-fap when I thought we would be able to be intimate regularly in person, was following the diet and forgoing gaming to help him avoid temptations. I didn't see any harm with taking care of my own needs from time to time, eating whatever I wanted, and passing the time by gaming while he was gone for over 2 months. I wasn't even going to say anything about it, figuring he would have had bigger things to be concerned about. But after he'd been home for a couple of days, he wanted to compare notes on how well we had mutually stuck to no-fap, the diet, and no gaming while he was away. And when I told him I hadn't, he was both furious and heartbroken, said I had betrayed him by not keeping promises, that I basically cheated on our life together, and that he could no longer trust me. I have apologized numerous times, but he won't accept that I am truly sorry for not clarifying that he wanted me to stick to these restrictions in solidarity while he was away. I love him so much, and he has been through such a horrible time with his parents, and I feel so awful for making it worse. We haven't broken up officially, but are very likely headed that way. Is there anything I can say or do, or do I just learn a hard lesson? I'm so devastated. Well, OP, first of all, it's good to know that his parents made a good recovery and are better now. Also, good for him for his determination to make all those life changes. But on that note, I don't think it's fair that he was requiring of you to do the same and kind of forced you into support. That is something that you should have volunteered if you wanted to do it. I totally understand, for example, that sticking to a diet is a difficult thing, because I've been there myself, but I would never require of my wife to also go on the same diet because I want to accomplish something. I see that the 3 things that he set out to achieve were 3 personal things. And yeah, I'm sure you wanted to support him, but it could have also been with encouragement, right? But you did make a commitment to support him while you guys were together, but when he wasn't in the house, what's the point? I personally don't see it as cheating and believe he's kind of blowing it out of proportion. I think you should stop apologizing, and the silent treatment is very childish. If he can't get over this quote-unquote betrayal, then maybe it is best to move on. And what do you guys think? What would you tell OP, or what would you do if you were in her shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Wu-Tang Motherfucker says, "Whew, girl, I thought you tripped and fell on someone else's penis while he was out taking care of his ailing parents. You just didn't hold up your end on a little New Year's resolution that he made. This isn't that crazy, but he obviously has some very strong feelings about it. Too late now, but why didn't you just tell him when you left you were gonna take a cheat month or two? Did he check in and ask over those months and you lied and said you were being good? I'd let it cool off, honestly. At face value, I am sorry for putting this in your head, OP, but I think there's bigger issues here. Spouting heartbreak and betrayal and saying he's so furious over this? Classic projection. Are you sure he was being on his best behavior in another city 1,000 miles away? It could be a reason he's picking fights and trying to break up all of a sudden." And OP responds, "When he got the news his father was in the hospital on a ventilator in the ICU, we had to scramble to make all the travel arrangements and were really more focused on those practical matters than discussing my solo habits while he was away. And for the first couple of weeks he was away, his father's fate was very precarious, so it seemed like a very silly thing to try to have a discussion about. I didn't think he would care, or at least not that much. What I had for dinner or how I entertained myself, barring actual cheating, seemed so inconsequential. He did say he was on his best behavior and stuck perfectly to the rules despite being so stressed and upset about, and then just busy with his parents." Greedy Text 1251 says, "Red flag after red flag. You weren't making these changes because you wanted to, you were doing it for him. It's alarming to me that he is that upset because you didn't stick to what he decided was right for his life. If he's this upset because he lost control over you, then you should move on. I'm assuming nofap is masturbation. That is the biggest problem to me. Controlling your sexuality is never okay. You didn't cheat. You satisfied yourself." And OP responds, "Yes, nofap is refraining from masturbation. He thought it would help his personal discipline to refrain, even though I had never complained about it and whatever he did didn't seem excessive to me. After all, aren't we all entitled to a little private time even in a relationship? I honestly didn't realize he was going to expect us to continue that even when we were long distance. It was one thing to refrain when we lived together and could be intimate with each other every day." Rainbow44 says, "I had a husband like this. We were on a raiding trip with our 2 young children, 5 and 11, and on the way home he unilaterally decided that the entire family, me included, were now vegetarians. That's it. No conversation, nothing. Well, okay, we made the best of it. It was tricky because we weren't even at home and had to rely on options on the road. And kids are kinda difficult to get to eat to start with. But when I got home, I told a friend about this and she was floored that he'd have the audacity to just make this rule for all of us without even a conversation. This is how I feel about your situation. You were doing these things to support him. You don't have to live your life by rules this guy decrees because he wants to improve and has picked these for him to improve. That you were willing to support him was really sweet of you. That he expected fidelity while he was gone? Absurd and self-centered. If he breaks up with you, good, he's ridiculous." And OP responds, "Thank you. I just wish we'd had a conversation about his expectations while he was away. We got the news about his parents and he made arrangements to leave quickly. It was only after he'd been gone a few days that I realized we hadn't discussed whether he expected me to continue in the same way. And I didn't really want to bring it up because he was so stressed and upset. For the first couple of weeks we weren't sure if his father was going to make it. I really thought no harm, no foul regarding what I did while he was away, as long as it wasn't physically or emotionally cheating with other people, draining our bank accounts or things like that." Well, the community agrees that OP's boyfriend is definitely off the mark. Now, before we move on with the update, let's check a little bit of context that I was able to extract from other responses that OP put in the comment section. He said he wanted to make these lifestyle changes and said it would mean a lot if I would do these things alongside him, both to support him and avoid temptation. After some discussion as to why and what would be involved, I agreed. So it was more of a let's do this and okay situation. I never said the words I promise, but I did say I would commit to doing it with him. Now, left to my own devices, I would not make those rules for myself, but supporting my boyfriend was more important to me than solo pleasure, eating whatever I wanted and gaming. The main issue was not eating foods not on his diet and not playing video games in front of him to help him avoid temptations. So I didn't really think he would care so much about what I did when he was in another city for 2 months. He definitely did know that I was only following these rules to be supportive. When he first brought up his self-improvement plan, I told him I was of course supportive of him losing weight if he wanted to, even though I loved him madly either way. I expressed a lot of skepticism about both nofap and giving up gaming altogether, but he seemed to think that in general, he needed to make drastic changes and cut out things that made him feel lazier and more likely to overeat. And that it would help him so much if I could follow the same rules. So I said, okay, I want to support you. In the beginning, he really needed my help. He had been heavy all his life and had really struggled with sticking to healthy eating and exercise plans for more than a few weeks at a time. But he'd been on his program for almost 4 months by the time he left and had well established his new lifestyle. I really didn't know that he needed or expected me to follow the same rules while away. My boyfriend's goals are very important to me, more important than doing the things he wanted to restrict, at least in his presence. I would never want to sabotage his self-improvement. I just didn't know he expected me to follow the same rules perfectly when he was out of town for 2 months. After all these responses, I'm starting to see that what he was expecting wasn't realistic or fair in the first place, especially because he didn't state explicitly that he expected me to maintain all the lifestyle changes while he was away, even though I didn't need or want them for myself in the first place. It really does occur to me that as soon as my boyfriend announced his new lifestyle plan, my entire life started to revolve around accommodating him. I'm going to talk to him and ask A, if something changed between us while he was away, and B, why is it so incredibly upsetting to him that I, for example, deviated from a diet I don't need when he wasn't in the house. I even got rid of all the non-keto foods before his return, so there wouldn't be any remaining temptation. And hopefully, he will be forthcoming. Okay, so now that we've got all that context, let's move on with the update to see what happened next. Just wanted to, first of all, thank everyone who responded with so much support for my original post, and then to report back that the situation is resolved, although definitely not the way I had hoped. Anyway, he continued to give me the silent treatment and finally, last night, told me he couldn't be with me anymore because I was obviously a selfish person who didn't support his lifestyle. I told him fine, but that it was incredibly controlling to expect that anyone would just follow along with big lifestyle changes they didn't need even when he was out of town. He sat quietly for a minute and then admitted he cheated on me when he was out of town. Not just once, but with 3 different people. He said that the urge had been there for a while, even before he left. Although he had a few girlfriends before me, he had never really turned heads due to being so heavy. But once the weight started coming off, he started getting noticed by women and got a big case of fearing of missing out from being committed to me. And then, once he got back to his hometown, he had the opportunity. First, as a hookup with an old friend from high school who had rejected him when he was heavy, but thought he was hot now, and then with a couple of other people he met. The last of whom he also fell for emotionally. So the entire reason for the original conversation where he was mad about me not following the lifestyle rules was to pick a fight. First, he was hoping I would confess to breaking the rules and wanted to catch me in a lie so that he'd have a reason to break up. Then, when I was honest, he used it as an excuse to harangue me and claim he was betrayed, again hoping I would break up with him so he wouldn't have to be the bad guy. So the upshot is that he's leaving and moving back to his hometown to start a relationship with his new love, whom I'll call Lisa. He didn't even say sorry, but in fact, leveled a bunch of insults at me. That I'm not going anywhere with my life as compared to Lisa, and I'm generally not as smart. I'm an executive assistant and love the work. She's a lawyer who is a few years older. That he just settled for me because I was nice to him and gave him attention while he was fat, but that I'm actually a butterface even if my body's not too bad. But that I could actually stand to drop 5 to 10 pounds. Keep in mind, I'm 5'4" and under 120 pounds, or 1 meter 62 centimeters tall and 54 kilos. But apparently, Lisa is a size 0 and a marathon runner. That generally I'm too plain because I don't care about designer clothes and getting my nails done. And again, he said he strongly prefers extremely girly appearances, but just felt he couldn't be too picky when he was fat. And that I embarrass him due to being quiet and introverted and because of my appearance. So at this point, I know I'm supposed to say good riddance, but the truth is I'm alternating between feeling furious and heartbroken. At least he did say he would give me the money to cover his half of the rest of our lease so I don't have to move right away, and that he would leave me all the furniture except his home office stuff. I guess next time I won't be so damn accommodating and supportive, because obviously that is not the way to a man's heart. There really has to be someone better out there than this a-hole, but for now, being single for a while and indulging in all the stuff I gave up for him sounds like heaven. Extended update from OP's comments. To be clear, I didn't mean I am going to become a total bitter a-hole now too. I just meant that perhaps next time it would be healthier to remember that it's okay to have some of my own boundaries instead of just going along 100% with what the other person wants all the time. Like, if by some coincidence I happen to meet another man who wants me to do no-fap keto diet and give up video games to support him in those things, I will likely not agree to follow along 100%, but will work out more moderate ways to avoid putting temptations in his face. Now, I'm definitely struggling with the comments he made, especially about my looks and intelligence. Like, was the whole relationship really just a lie? Did he feel the whole time he was settling and never really liked me much? And even so, was it really necessary to say those things on his way out? I mean, he could have just said that while he was away, he realized he wasn't ready to settle down and wanted to be free to date other people, that he wasn't feeling it with me anymore and that he was sorry. I hate the way he treated me, but I know it isn't about me. Decent people don't belittle others for their intelligence and appearance just because someone else caught their eye. Also, Lisa is a new person he met. There was another woman he had a hookup with at the beginning of his trip who was a high school friend who decided he was now hot enough to hit it. But I think they are all pretty awful unless he lied about being in a relationship. He was a lovely partner until he started his lifestyle program, or at least acted as he loved me, but obviously wasn't a good guy in the end. I guess the bottom line is that he never liked me that much to begin with. I was just there and available and seemed like the best option versus being alone. But I don't want to be with anyone who thinks they're settling to be with me anyway. Wow, what a douche. I'm so sorry that he treated you that way, OP. He absolutely sucks. I understand you're heartbroken, of course, but eventually you're gonna feel better and you're gonna understand that this idiot didn't deserve you. And regarding Lisa, if she didn't know he was in a relationship, I kinda feel sorry for her because if he cheated on you with her, he's probably gonna cheat on her with somebody else. And if she did know he was in a relationship and he does cheat on her, well, that's what you get for being a douche too. In any case, OP, thank you for sharing and hopefully you'll heal and be able to move forward in the best way possible. Take care. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.